Hey, Chris Mueller again. I just wrapped up my weekly podcast with Danielle Mapes, and I was looking at the board behind me here. This was from a consult I did earlier last week, and I thought, man, that would be a great thing to talk about on the Facebook today. So here I am. So one of the things that I think most of us do not think about in terms of our social media is narrative. Right? Most of us adopted Facebook after MySpace. If you were alive then, if you weren't, shut up. It's my birthday. I'm older. Anyway, but most of us adopted social media, and it just sort of happened, right? And we just began sharing our pictures that we wanted people to see that we took 17 times, or sharing stories about our kids, or sharing our work things, our struggles, sharing our victories, and just sort of vomiting content onto the web with very little thought for narrative, for story, for intention. Now, in terms of your real estate business, that can have sort of detrimental, consequences. Because if you're not consciously telling a story, then you're unconsciously telling a story. And if you're unconsciously telling a story, then you're probably getting results that are, they're not great. And so how can we begin to think of our online presence in terms of the narrative, the story that we're telling, the invitation that we're making to our friends, our family, our followers, whoever they are? And so I want to go through a couple quick points. If you got any thoughts or comments or questions, you can post them, and I will do my best to reply to things as I'm on the fly here. So first off, what's the story you're telling yourself? Right? Now that's important. Even before we get on to the social media platforms, what's the story you're telling yourself? When you wake up every morning, what's the story that you're living in? Is it one of abundance, or is it one of scarcity? Is it one of blessing, or is it one of struggle? And I can speak pretty personally to this. Over the last couple of years, we've had our share of struggle, and we could have focused on that, but instead we chose to focus on the blessing, kind of taking the Philippians chapter 6 approach, right? Make your requests known to God, and then focus on the blessing in your life. And St. Paul says, if there's anything worthy of praise, focus on these things. And that gave us strength. It gave us an awareness of the blessing in our life, so that even when times were rough or scary or upsetting, we couldn't help but miss the way that, and I would say, God was moving in our life, right? What's the story you're telling yourself about your real estate business? Is it just, oh, my clients are this, or, oh, I don't have any leads, or, oh, I don't know enough people. Oh, no. Okay, no, stop. Everything I need is within my grasp. I know plenty of people. Really, if you know 100 people and you're in contact with them sufficiently, intentionally, then you should do about 16 deals a year from 100 people, direct and referral, right? Everything you need is in your grasp, right? There aren't any homes for sale. No, there's actually quite a high volume of homes being sold. You're just not getting them. Oh, it's impossible to get buyers' offers. No, it's challenging to get buyers' offers accepted, but you are the kind of agent who's going to do it, right? What's the story you're telling yourself? That's important, because the story you're telling yourself is probably being reflected in the story you're telling other people. The story you're telling on social media. My guess is that for most of us, the story we're telling on social media is very much related to the narrative that we're telling ourselves, right? If I'm telling myself that there's not enough, that there's scarcity, that it's struggle, that it's frustrating, that's a pain, that it's blah, 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 then my social media is picking up on that. And let's face it, nobody wants to work with that guy. Nobody wants to work with the guy who's constantly telling everyone about how terrible life is. They want to work with someone who's living in abundance because they want to be part of that, right? What's the story you're telling your social media? The other thing I want to point about the story you're telling social media is, we're going to get to this in a second, is it your story, their story, or our story? And I'll get to that in a moment. And then what's the story you're telling your sphere of influence, the people who are on your social media, but they're also in your life? Now, I'm going to suggest for a lot of the agents out there that what you should be considering in your story is an invitation, right? Are people invited to be a part of your journey? What are your real estate goals this year? Is it just to sell more? Are you trying to get to something? You're trying to get some breakthrough? You're trying to get some lifestyle change? Are people invited to be a part of that story? Are they invited to be a part of your success? Or are you just kind of throwing stuff at the wall? Now, I had this conversation with an agent last week. Good acting is a give and take, right? it's compelling. We're drawn into it. We want to be part of it. I would say good social media is a give and take. It's a sharing. It's an invitation. We're not only throwing things out like, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, but we're also responding to what people are saying. We're interacting, and we're inviting them to be a part of what we're doing, whether that is, through watching it or actively participating in it. Do you want referrals from your social media? Are you inviting people to be part of your success? If they're not aware of your goals or your growth or your excitement, then they don't feel like they have an opportunity to be a part of your success. If you're coming to real estate and maybe your business is not where you want it to be, maybe you're a top producer, maybe you're whatever, but if people don't feel that they're part of the build, then they're not going to contribute to it. So how do you invite people to be part of your story, part of your success? I like that position for social media. But there's another approach too, right? You can also make it just completely focused on their story, or you can make it our story. Again, our story I think I like a lot, right? Most of us are they're doing the your story. My social media is about me, right? But my social media about me is not a very strong story. Their story, where you're just, I would argue that this is sort of the posting about real estate all the time, it is a little too much. But our story, if I'm inviting you to be part of this journey with me, can be a very powerful positioning for social media, and I would argue in your sphere as well. Are people invited to be a part of your journey? Hey, if you want to get more traction in your sphere of influence, more traction on your social media, more traction in your online platform, then you need to consider these questions. What's the story you're telling yourself? Because if you're not telling yourself the right story, you're definitely not telling the world the right story. Are you telling a consistent story on social media in your sphere, and are you inviting people into that story in such a way that it becomes our story? We're going to do this together. We're on a journey. People, and this is the secret. Most people want to be a part of your success. They want to feel ownership of it. Most people, we love it. We love saying, wow, look at Chris. Look at the business he's doing. I can speak to this. I've got a buddy, John Ray, in Louisiana, and John Ray did an interview with us the other day. John Ray's on an incredible trajectory. I have very little part of John Ray's journey. He's in Louisiana, right? Other than that, we were both in real estate. We're with the same company. But I love seeing his success, and I feel invested in it because John Ray so intentionally shares the journey with his sphere and invites us to be part of it that way. Are you inviting people to be part of your story? If you are, then they're going to contribute to the story. If you're not, well, you're probably not getting any engagement. So, hey, something to think about. Great sharing with you guys. Hope you got something out of it. If you're looking for a little bit more, you can contact me through riversiderealestatesuccess.com. You can give me a call at 951-290-2732. It's 951-290-2732. And hopefully we can connect soon. If your business isn't where you want it to be, who's pouring into you? Who's coaching you? Who's helping you get there? See you guys next time.